Hey YouTubers, I'm going to the council meeting tonight, find out if they're going to do anything about the haunted house. This will be part 3, and probably a question about the AI crosswalks. Hang on.
This time I want to amend the agenda. We're going to add an item 5. It's a compliance with statement of benefits, personal property from DS Products, JMAT Leasing. Their information comes certified mail today. So we're going to add that to the agenda. It'll be under number 5. Next item is roll call.
Coin,
Here.
Pilgrim,
Here.
Brewer, Shonen,
Here.
Dillon,
Here.
Barrows,
Here.
Burnsworth.
Here. Okay, next we have the minutes of the April 28th meeting.
Motion to approve as distributed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Approve the minutes. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have no old business. Number 1 under new business is statement with compliance of benefits, Rahi Hospitality, 1610 North Cass Street. I believe they are here. Questions for the gentleman?
Just noted on the employees section, the current number of employees, it is, you had estimated at 0. Was that correct? Because this was a new building?
Yeah, the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And current is at 18?
More or less, yeah. It's summer's coming up, so we're attempting to hire more staff.
Okay. This is just the new Hampton?
The Hampton.
Employees, okay.
And then we did start renovations on the Holiday Express. We put in roughly like $1.6 million into it. So it's the brand new Holiday Inn standards inside. So you guys are more than welcome to come check it out. The lobby and front desk should be done hopefully beginning of June. So we should be wrapping it up here shortly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Pass the statement of benefits for Rahi Hospitality. Roll call, please.
Coin,
Here.
Pilgrim,
Aye.
Shonen,
Aye.
Dillon,
Aye.
Barrows,
Aye.
Burnsworth.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 2, under new business, a statement of compliance of benefits with Rock City Lofts. 2545 Market Street. I believe somebody is here for Rock City.
Everything's going down there. Most of the units are
Yeah, we're at
rented, occupied?
97% occupied.
Good.
Yeah.
You are still 2 employees.
Yes.
Any other questions? I would entertain a motion for this.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Pass the statement of benefits for Rock City Lofts. Roll call, please.
Coin,
Aye.
Pilgrim,
Aye.
Shonen,
Aye.
Dillon,
Aye.
Barrows,
Aye.
Burnsworth.
Aye. Okay. Item number 3. Okay, next item on the agenda, number 3, is resolution number 3, 2025. Additional appropriations for the Wabash City Schools. Yes, that's good. Any questions from the council?
Thank you for explaining. I thought I heard it at one of the meetings, but you've been through appropriations, so I'm not sure I heard this one, but I appreciate it. This money, it's your money to spend.
Yeah, don't let it take it away.
What's the council's pleasure on this?
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 3 with the additional appropriations for Wabash City Schools.
I will second. Have a motion, yes.
Is this the official?
Yeah, we're looking for the receipt.
Yeah, this is the form. It needs to be this book.
We'll take a short recess.
That's just this is the one that counts.
Yes.
Right there.
So, they aren't.
Yeah. There you go. This, This brought you in there too. He's got something, yeah. When you sign, was that copy? Yeah. See here. It's just there for information.
Okay, we'll call this back to order. Resolution number 3, do I have a motion? We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Coin.
Aye.
Pilgrim.
Aye.
Shoney.
Aye.
Dillon.
Aye.
Faros.
Aye.
Burnsworth.
All right. Okay. Next order of business is first reading of general ordinance number 5, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Wabash, Indiana, amending Chapter 10, Article 1, Division 3, Subdivision 3, Section 10-53B, describing a light industrial use. I'll let you start.
Okay. For quite some time, I've been concerned about our zoning ordinance when it comes to describing a light industrial use, because it references, when it's dealing with environmental issues, noise, air pollution, water pollution, hazardous material, things like that, it simply says that the standard is whatever the building commissioner finds offensive. Well, quite frankly, that's not much of a standard. It's very subjective. There's no objective thing that somebody can determine what the standard really is. And you can have one building inspector who is very picky, has excellent eyesight, hearing and olfactory senses, and then be very picky, and then you can have another building inspector who can't smell anything or see anything, and allow all kinds of things to happen. So, the Plan Commission has approved a resolution that changes the standard to read, as we have here in ordinance, to read that where the use is conducted entirely within one or more closed structures or containers, that's what makes it light industrial, is it's all contained within something. And will not produce noise, vibration, air pollution, fire hazard, or emission beyond legally permissible levels. Now we're making reference to what has been established by law. That might be something that IDEM has established. It might be something that the environmental, that Congress has established. EPA regulations, things like that. And so now we've got something that's a little more specific, and beyond legally permissible levels such that the industrial use becomes injurious, noxious, or offensive to the health and safety of humans, animals, or vegetation. The process for amending our zoning ordinance is that it starts at the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission has to pass a resolution making a recommendation to this body as to whether or not to change the zoning ordinance. This body then has three options. Option number one is you can basically adopt and approve what the Plan Commission has recommended, and eventually you pass an ordinance that changes the zoning ordinance. Your second option is you can say, no, we don't like that change. Indicate what your reasons are. You can send it back to the Plan Commission for them to think about it a little more seriously if you don't think they have thought it through enough. Your third option is you can do nothing. If you do nothing, 90 days from now, it will be an ordinance because you have done nothing. It automatically gets approved by your inaction because the Plan Commission has recommended it. So, in the past, I am not aware of any instance in the last 20 years at least, 21 years, if not further back, that the council has not voted one way or another on the recommendation of the Plan Commission. In other words, I'm not aware of any instance where you said, we'll just sit on it for 90 days. I will tell you that Rural Wabash County is always seeking people to locate businesses and industry here, and therefore, and they've got some active leads right now. Therefore, I think passing this, not only should you not just wait 90 days, I think this is one of the instances where you ought to consider suspending the rules and passing it on both readings tonight. This is going to make our ordinance more enforceable, and it's going to give industry a much better guidance as to whether they fit into light industrial or instead should be looking to locate in a heavy industrial area where we allow greater noise, we allow things to be set outside. And the problem with things outside is that's one of the reasons why you have noise is because it's outside. It's also means that rain can get mixed in with whatever you've got setting outside. Runoff can be contaminated because of that reason. Consequently, in heavy industrial uses, their standards are quite as tight as they are for light industrial. So again, it's the opinion of the planning commission and my opinion that this makes our ordinance more enforceable and will be a good thing for the city.
Thank you, Doug. Questions?
I have a question. It says in here, beyond legal permissible levels. Where do you find the legal permissible levels? What that is allocated as?
You would find it in one of two or three, well, actually, I suppose 4 places. One is Indiana statutes, Indiana code. There are some statutes that set out some regulations. If it's not there, it can be in the Indiana administrative code, which takes broad guidelines set out by the statute and makes them more specific. It could be in federal legislation, the United States Code, or in the Code of Federal Regulations, which are the administrative pronouncements, guidelines, explanations for statutes. But it's going to be in one of those 4 places, generally.
Just wondering, is it something that you should, I know that you just gave me a long list, but is there something that should be indicated in there where to find those, since it just says that? But is there another clause in here that gives you all that information so that people know what references we're stating here?
When you make reference to legally, to the statement, legally permissible, that basically is gonna say statutes and regulations adopted pursuant to statute. You don't wanna get too specific because those kinds of things change as Congress or the state legislature changes things. And to prevent us from having to change our code every time one of those levels changes, you just make reference to those levels. Anybody who is interested in locating here, or anybody who is interested in determining whether or not they fall within those levels, is basically going to end up hiring an attorney, and the attorney will know where to find them.
So I have a question on the revision. I thought we had a good statement in the previous, where it says, or emissions which will disturb or endanger neighboring properties or uses. What was the decision to remove that part out? In addition to adding the new sentence in the.
Some people can be it says disturb, and some people can be very sensitive as opposed to others. Legally permissible gives a standard. The
Right.
other phrase doesn't really give a standard.
Right, but if we have any said business that's causing a disturbance to citizens within the city, we don't have any really jurisdiction to address that if they're under the legal thresholds of what the standards are for light industrial
Mhm.
use. Correct.
Right,
I mean, we
because
can't- we
what they're
can't-
doing is not illegal.
We can't have them cease operations based on the current ordinance, which says, which will disturb or endanger neighboring properties.
And what would happen is if you try to enforce that, the court will come back and say, you can't enforce it anyway because it's not an objective standard. And so you've got nothing, right now, you've got nothing that's enforceable. You can have all the language in there that you want that says disturbing, offensive to the building commissioner and all that, but that doesn't give anybody a standard that they can rely on. And so if we try to shut a business down because it disturbs somebody, the business can appeal to the court, and the court's gonna say, how do I tell if it's disturbing to somebody in the sense that it's gotta be illegal?
So in essence, if there is any suspected violation, we can call for an inspection to come in from EPA or whomever.
Sure.
To monitor
To monitor.
emissions or
Mhm.
whatever,
Mhm.
which,
Yeah.
okay. I don't wanna go too far with that, cause I think I'm gonna say too much, but I'm gonna just say it anyway. there's been multiple complaints about the Midwest Poultry,
Yes, yes,
reclamation of chicken poo.
yes.
And it's not desirable to smell. Now, one
Yes.
evening I did smell that for a brief moment out at the Field of Dreams, and then I smelt what, I would say like a perfume or a cologne masking the smell. One of the employees just happened to be at a game, and I said, they're testing this, she said. They're trying to put a chemical in there to kind of cover that up.
Mhm.
So maybe they were doing a trial run.
There- yeah.
But it didn't take long for that odor to dissipate and a fragrant smell.
Odor is probably the most difficult thing
Yeah.
to
Well, it is.
regulate.
It does
because-
fit in with the current ordinance of disturbing neighboring properties. Because it does.
To the extent,
Right.
to the extent that there is also in the law the doctrine of nuisance.
Yeah.
And a person could bring an action if they wanted to on a nuisance basis. But again, to the extent that you have identifiable standards, you've got something that's more enforceable than just, well, it disturbs somebody.
So I thank you for answering my question and removing that sentence and rewording it. If that gives Jeff more leverage, I'm all for it.
Any more questions? Council's pleasure. I will motion to pass general ordinance number 5 on first reading.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call.
Coin,
Aye.
Pilgrim. Aye. Shoney,
Aye.
Dillon,
Aye.
Bars,
Aye.
Brunswick.
Aye. What would the council's pleasure be on suspending the rules? Get this thing in motion.
I say, so moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Suspend the rules. More discussion? Roll call.
Coin,
Aye.
Pilgrim,
Aye.
Brewer, Shoney,
Aye.
Dillon,
Aye.
Bars,
Aye.
Brunswick.
Aye. I'll motion to pass general ordinance number 5 on second reading.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Roll call.
Coin,
Aye.
Pilgrim,
Aye.
Shoney,
Aye.
Dillon,
Aye.
Bars,
Aye.
Brunswick.
Aye. Okay. Item number 5 is compliance statement of benefits, personal property from DS Products Incorporated and JMAT Leasing Company. I believe we have 2 gentlemen here. So is your employment actually down a little bit?
We were down at the end of the year. Business was a little soft in the manufacturing environment last year. And we had our largest customer did a conversion of their operating system and didn't take any product for about 90 days. So we had to cut back our staff late last year. Numbers are back, 43, 44, something like that today.
Okay. Any other questions?
This has nothing to do with the manufacturing of gun parts, and this is the separate.
This is separate, correct?
I thought so. I didn't know if you had employees grouped under that same umbrella.
We do not. That was the Bond Street location, which actually is no longer in the county. It's up in New Hampshire currently. there's a new owner of the Bond Street building.
Mhm.
I will motion to pass compliance with statement of benefits for U.S. products.
Sorry.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Klein,
Aye.
Pilgrim,
Aye.
Shoney,
Aye.
Dillon,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Fraser.
Aye. Okay. Any other business come before the council?
Is this when we can talk? No?
Questions from the audience?
I got one. Do I come up,
There's fine.
talk here?
Name, please.
Brian Thompson, 319 Chestnut Street. One thing that brought my attention was the chemical that you said is disguising the manure. I hope somebody's keeping an eye on that, because you're talking about a chemical that people are breathing, and they got to put quite a bit of it out there to cover manure. We all know that. I'm a farmer myself. But your code enforcement was supposed to have been here tonight to talk about the haunted house, slaughterhouse, whatever you want to call it. Is he here today? Code enforcement, because the mayor said he was going to be here today.
He is not.
Okay. Well, the code enforcement, one of his jobs is to enforce nuisance. And I know we were talking about nuisance. Well, one of his jobs is to take care of that. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk to him, because the mayor said he was going to have him here tonight, because I'm going on 2 months talking about this, and these families are really disappointed because it seems like nobody's concerned about it, unless it was around your house. You know, I mean, I wonder how it would be if they took some of the heads and spread them through the town and see if anybody, cared. Of course they would. But I'm asking. I've been here 3 times now, 2 months, and Bill's been talking about it, which I really like, and I finally got the mayor understanding that your houses are going to be worth less money. Who's going to buy a house around that thing? There's no way. Your value just went down because nobody's doing nothing about it. I go by there every day, and I'm just like, do they even care? Nobody seems to speak to it. I mean, I hope you guys care, because that's why we're all here, right? It's disappointing. I hope so. I hope something's done. I mean, am I supposed to talk to the code enforcement? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Because it is a nuisance law.
Did the mayor talk to you about that?
I don't know if you talked to Silas,
See, that's very disappointing, because we talked about honor, shaking hands. I'll take your word for it. I don't need no contract. That's baloney. Take the man's word for it. He gave me his word. And now I'm even more disappointed, because it's like, am I just wasting my time talking to the board? I mean, are these people waiting for something to happen? Are they wasting their time? Do you see where I'm coming from? Has anybody drove by there? Okay, 1, 2, nobody else.
You're referring to the 200 Chestnut, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, the one that's got children's heads severed off with blood all over it and all along the wall, all on the wall, right by the road.
Is it only visible when you're on Chestnut, or is it visible when you're on, because I've driven by there and there's a lot of trees and things like that. So do you have to be on Chestnut to see it, or?
No, you can be up the next road up, because those families are all complaining about it. There was 3 homes I went into, and they were really hoping something be done, and here I am going on 2 months. And it's like, if it's a haunted house, I don't care. It's a business. I get it. But when they're not even running nothing, it's just there's nothing there. They left everything out. Everything out. I mean, take your kids by there. See how they love it. My kids were scared to death. Their kids are all scared to death. That's why I say you're bringing the property value, the house values of their homes down, because nobody's going to come in there and buy their home with that like that. And that's my whole point. It's it's more than a nuisance. It's ridiculous. But I still understand, it's a holiday, but that's abusing the holiday. I mean, I'm just disappointed because I really expected something to happen when I came in here tonight. And it's horrifying. And I really hope something happens. I'll talk to the guy. Do you know his name? The code enforcement guy? I mean, I hope somebody stands up because you guys are here. You're here for Wabash, and I don't know. Am I saying something that's totally ridiculous that I'm being selfish and not caring about everybody else, and not just myself, or what? I mean, I don't understand.
I would suggest you contact the building department.
The building department?
The Silas.
Okay.
And
Because I know Bill and Mayor was saying that they told you guys that they were going to run it year round, which wouldn't have been very good either, but they're not doing that. They're probably not making the money, and they just booked, left it like it was. They'll come back whenever, and then here we got to look at this stuff. I mean, it's not even it's all over the wall. There's like hundreds of them, but they're on the ground too. And then when you go back down in there, they got them all back in there. I mean, why have a code enforcement if nothing getting done?
okay, if you want to, call make an appointment. So Silas go through the code book maybe and see what the violations are there.
Now, one other thing I want to say, you guys were talking about businesses coming here, factories coming here. I truly think you guys need to get grip of the ones you got here now. I was a facilities maintenance for a year and a half out Castings. And let me tell you something, it's horrifying what they do. They dump that stuff in the ground, down the drain by the gutter drains and stuff. You know that's going right, and I'm sure they're not telling nobody because when I was there, I was trying to stir up some stuff about it, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. But they've done more than that. They got scum tanks there that take it out of the air, and that's getting spilled and running right out the back, and I don't know where that goes. EPA's been called. The other one, I can't say. OSHA's been called. They don't give a crap. This is cancerous stuff. Right? Somebody better do something. Because that's one factor. And I worked there. I know for a fact. I saw it. I tried to stop it. It's ridiculous. And the biggest thing is, if you work there, there's no ventilation. Because they don't want to replace the fans in the big chute that goes above the furnace and suck all the poisons out, all the toxins and stuff. They don't want to fix any of that. So I'm a little concerned about when you guys talk about let's bring new business in here, but let's control the ones we got now so we ain't going to be dying at 50 years old or 40 years old. Because that stuff gets in the water tablet. We're already dealing with General Tire. Has that even been cleaned up yet? I don't even know.
Cleaning up now.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, because I know they were checking across the street
Is it?
to the pizza place, and that was back in 2016. So it has spread. Now we're talking 9 years later. I'm a little concerned. I really am.
Working out there, taking the dirt out.
Okay, because are you guys familiar with Frankton, Indiana?
Yes.
They dealt with the same thing. They covered it up, built houses on it. Now everybody's getting cancer. It got in a water tablet. It spread way out. I'm concerned about this stuff. When I wasn't even here to talk about this, but when I hear it, I got to speak to it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Yes, sir. Jim Dixon. Touched upon from Brian about the odor from the chicken manure place, and I was past it today, and I smelled it quite strongly. The wind was out of the east. Refresh my memory. I've been coming to these council meetings off and on for quite some time, and I was thinking that before they came in and bought up that property, which was county-owned property, they would promise there wouldn't be any smell that would come from that building. Is my memory pretty faulty? Because at the time I thought, when I heard that, I thought, boy, that's an awful big project, unless they've got scrubbers or some kind of way to remove that odor or keep it confined inside the building. I've never been on the property, so I don't know how they operate. So I guess I've got a concern as a citizen in the city. We've had a lot of issues over the years with some smells over here, sewer-like smells from, I think, from the paper company, which part of their processes, we've lived with it for years. But that out there, it appears to me there's gonna be a constant thing, because I've been past there several times, I've talked to people. Obviously, Brian was over at Field of Dreams and had quite a nose full, shall we say. Can we expect this just to continue,
Last I was told, they're having growing pains, and they're still working on it. I know IDEM's been out there and done some testing.
And it was recently too.
So,
Air testing?
whatever testing they do,
I don't know, they might have done some ground testing of some kind.
but I do know they were there, and they've done some testing. So, hopefully, they'll get it under control and get it fixed.
Not too distant future.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate that. To expand on that, yes, they did assure this body and the citizens that there would be no smell. We wouldn't even know they're out there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Was
as
that-
an
was that correct?
analogy, they took the finished product at another plant and stuck it right in the mayor's face, and there was no odor. With the processed, it's the processing of that they're having the
Mhm.
growing pains as referred to. I've heard that they had some parts they're waiting on. I've heard they're trying to mask the smell, unofficially. I don't know what their growing pains are, but, people are pretty fed up with, having to smell it. So, like I said, when I heard that originally, that you wouldn't smell it, thinking, I've been around chicken manure, and that's a big item, and I'm still smelling it. Yeah. Growing pains or no growing pains.
I said something to the mayor about it, not this time, last month, and he was meeting out there with several of them, of their people, 3 or 4 days later. And I don't know all of the end of that, but part of it was the parts that they're waiting on and some filters and scrubbers or something.
Well, I just want to list myself as a concerned citizen. I know I'm not the only one, but I'm gonna add my voice to the chorus. But thank you for your
Thank you.
attention.
Anyone else? Report from liaison appointments.
I have police department. First of all, I did want to mention that this is National Police Week, so this is a time to remember the officers that were lost in the line of duty and also show appreciation for those currently serving. And at the last meeting, Chief Mooney had invited us out to the training that they had today. So I went to that, and that was a real experience. I went to the range, and so saw them shooting rifles and their pistols or whatever. And then went to the airport where they had emergency vehicle training. So they are going all around the airport runway, like trying to pull people over. So anyway, we have a great group of officers, and watching them and see how they train, to keep us safe and protect themselves too, it just gave me a whole new appreciation to watch them in action today. So thank you for that invitation.
We appreciate you being there. Look convincing. Anyone else?
Wabash City School Boards met here in these chambers last Monday, May 5th. It seemed like the focus of the meeting was end of school year, graduation. However, it was announced that Kinley McWhirt and Emma Weaver were the valedictorian and the salutatorian, respectively. Had an interesting update from the student council. They brought back the senior sunset activity, which will be May 16th. I'm not familiar with that, but graduation was noted May 30th. And kudos to the esports team who won their state competition in that, which I hear it's a very interesting sport, a lot going on there. And it was noted that there's going to be a first responders youth camp in June. I think that's going to be grades 8 through 10. That'll be kind of sponsored by the SRO, Officer Hip Center, and Wabash Fire. I hope I got that right. So that was exciting. Pardon me?
A lot of them working together.
Yes, so, and OJ Neighbors had a very successful reenactment on May 6th. I think that was a comeback that they hadn't had in a few years, so, from the photos and it looked like everybody had a good time, so. That's all for the city school board.
Okay. Any Title VI or ADA comments or complaints? Our next meeting is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 at 6 o'clock. We are adjourned.
Hey, you live downstream from that, you said?
No, I live on East Street, but I'm driving past it, and I just thought they said there would be a smell, and I'm thinking, well, I'm still smelling it. When I go to the paper, I still smell it. You know, there, Hoosier Point, I still smell it. I don't live there, but I'm trying to put myself in their place, and I wouldn't like it. Especially when it was billed, as I just said, you wouldn't smell it. I'm thinking chicken manure.
I'm really scared about the chemicals that they're trying to mask it with. What's, you know, the chemical's not good to breathe no matter what it is.
Well, that's true, but what's in that chicken manure is probably isn't too healthy.
No, it's all bad.
That's why we put them out in the county, in the country, dispersing it. Because you can take chicken manure. You're a farmer. You know what you can do with chicken manure.
That's the strongest I've ever smelled. Besides pigs. I mean, they're about the
I'd rather
same.
smell the pigs than with the chicken.
Yeah. I mean, chicken's strong.
Yes, very, very.
You can't even really grow stuff from what I understand. If you put too much of it in, it'll just burn.
Yes, my understanding.
It's bad, yeah.
And I used to live out in the country. So I lived around fields that they put the manure on. And okay. And the hog manure. I'll tell you where I used to live.
They put it on the field?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Oh my God.
Yeah, that's routine.
Why don't they plow that crap in?
Well, I used to live across the road from the J.P. Schuler. And the hog farm, by the way, owned by York, Mike York. Anyway, I'm on Laketon Road, just north of 16. There's 2 hog houses back there.
Right.
Okay. And so it's pumped. And you're right, J.P. could pump it on his property every so many years. But they would burn it up. The chicken manure had been spread on a field north of where I used to live. So I know what those smell like, and I know that the farmers routinely, which is fine. I mean, it's a place to put that stuff because it needs to go somewhere.
Right.
And if it helps the farmer, wonderful.
Right.
But knowing that it's out there, it's staying out there, there's a tremendous amount of investment in monies, it's not going anywhere.
Well, you know the worst thing about it is, you ever seen the field turn white with mold when they let it set too long on top, like off of 15? You ever seen that? Well, when that goes into the wind, you got mold blowing, and everybody's like, "Oh, I got allergies." Not really.
Yeah.
That's even worse of it all, because I believe if once they spread it, well, you can spread it, but plow it in, and you'll never
I
smell
started to tell you
it.
that JP would always have it plowed in, but there were some that would just dump it out on the ground.
Right.
But to me, that was JP Schuler being a good neighbor.
Right.
And, and the others around me that were they plowed it in. He cared. But there's some that do not. So I've seen it out there. Just there it is.
Yeah,
and I don't live there, but I'm just saying I've seen it. So JP, when he was putting it down, he would plow it in with their whatever you call that piece of equipment.
Plow.
Yeah.
I used to plow.
Disc
Most of them are
or,
using chisels and stuff now.
Yeah.
But
anyway, they're putting it in the ground to get rid of some of the smell. To be a good neighbor. And John told me that.
Yeah.
When he was still living.
Well, how hard is it to spread it, spread the field, and then work it in back to back? That's just a practice. That's just a scheduling yourself that way.
Well, they knife it in as they're dispersing it with that piece of equipment that has the hose and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So they're really putting a lot on.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, plowing that in would even help then. I mean, if you're putting too much, my grandpa used to use a spreader for the pigs and just go out there and you see chunks here and there.
Correct,
you know?
and it would be, I'm going to use the word semi-solid.
Yeah.
Or mostly solid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
the chicken manure compared to hog manure. Hog manure has been liquid. That's how they get rid of it. They pump it. But the chicken manure usually is spread as a semi-solid or a almost solid material.
Okay.
But I'm more interested in the smell that's coming from that recycling place up there. Okay, so you could make it into whatever you're making it. But when I smell it, and it's going to be just like the complaints you have over here from the Container Corporation. Been there for years. They say it's their process. They actually denied it early on. Oh, we're okay. It's not sewer smell, but it's a part of their process.
Right.
But I was hoping, if nothing else, they can put scrubbers or something out there to get rid of the smell. But I don't know how they could do that. That's beyond my.
Well, like the dairy farmer out here off of 15.
I like the
Yes.
clean.
I've seen him put it in. It's just a slop of mess. You really can't. You really. He's not being considered at all. I know it's a corporation. I'm pretty sure that's doing that.
It was 4
But
o'clock.
you can't do nothing with that. He's trying to get rid of the pond he's got, so he's putting it heavy. He doesn't have to. It doesn't need to be that heavy. But he's doing it because he wants to get it emptied out, so he can
Well,
refill
yes.
it and everything.
Well, and Mark York told me this. He's got the two that was behind me, to the southeast of me, where I used to live. He said, I have a reservoir underneath those buildings that will hold up to a year's worth of hog manure.
Okay.
So in case you can't get rid of it in a season,
Mike
you've
Malone
got capacity.
was a Marine
That's IDEM
Jag officer,
requirements.
major.
But you know that, in springtime, or I should say late winter, early spring, before we get the crops in, they can disperse it, and the ground's not frozen where you can knife it in.
Yeah.
You've seen him out there. Nick
Mike Malone's wife.
Kopke, Wabash
is at
County
the
Council
Marine
member.
barracks on,
That's his business.
Oh, okay.
He goes around these farmers with his equipment, and he disperses that stuff with hoses and pumps and.
For them?
Well, I don't know for York,
I mean,
but for.
in other words, he's got too much for himself, so he's helping out other farmers with it.
No, that's his business.
Oh.
He goes around with the equipment to pump and disperse and get it out on the ground.
Okay.
I know whether he puts it in the ground, I don't know. I've never seen his equipment.
He heard the scream.
I've talked to him here recently.
I know
Mike
for a
was standing
fact
there, and he
that
said,
what I was talking about the cow manure.
"What was this?" My wife screamed.
All you have to do is put in a certain amount. It's just like planting seeds.
That's just my wife.
It's got to be
screaming,
so
"Don't
far
worry."
apart. You can't put too much. You got to put more than
Well,
enough.
and I wouldn't think they want to put too much on because if they burn up their
On that
ground,
side of the
Yeah,
bridge.
that's why
they
I
put
I
too
got
much
back to my car, and I
pH
drove-
something
I
or
lived
other.
south of San
So
Francisco.
He needs
if
to
he's
kick
putting
it
it
up a
on,
gear.
well, but if he's putting on too much,
And
then
there
it'll
was a
come back
point-
to bite him when he wants to get his
there
crops
was
in
a point
and
on-
get something. Because
I
it'll be
was
too
on the
much,
bridge and I could not see a headlight.
too much of a good thing is.
It's like soupy out there when I watch it. I go by there, I'm just like, look at all that.
They're talking about like on the field right
Where
across
that-
15.
The house that just burnt down out there.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
on that field across
Yes.
from him.
Yes.
That's the one I've been saying about.
Well, and that's the one that I look at and I say, why didn't you knife it in? Now let me go back to J.P. Schuler.
I love it.
He had the same thing, only he knifed his in.
Great.
Was it too much that he put?
I don't know if it was too much.
Because if it's too much, it just leaves it on top. Where
Yes.
you just want to just knife it in.
Yes.
Just like when they do corn, they knife
Yes.
that in.
Yes.
You don't want to put too much.
But that
That's the
tells me
problem.
that whoever's doing that is not being a good neighbor to those folks. There's no skin off my nose because I don't live there.
Yeah. But you can go a long ways with that manure. You could actually, hey, farmer, you want some of this? Oh, heck yeah, they will, because they won't have to pay for fertilizer.
Well, and York told me what happened was before I left. I left in 2018. 2 years prior to that, in 16, he had one house back there that handled 4,000 head of hogs. He put another one in, another 4,000, so he could have 8,000 head of hog back there. And I asked him about, well, where are you going to get rid of the manure? Because he had told me earlier, we pipe it, we do what we have to do. He said, oh, I've got lists of farmers that want it. So he had places for it to go. Now it's more expensive. You've got to take it in a semi, pump it out. You got to handle it. Where the hose routine, you're pumping it. In my case, you're pumping it under the road onto JP's property. It's only half a mile. In fact, Nick was telling me, because I asked him about it, there's a contraption I seen not too far from that field that you were telling me about. It goes up, over, and down.
Does it really?
Because, okay, for the Laketon Road, JP or Mr. York had to get permission from the county to put a road cut in. There's a pipe there. There's a culvert.
And they've already done that too.
Yeah, and they did it years ago. But my point is, they had to get permission, where the equipment that goes up over, all they gotta do is park it,
And I had 5
use it, and then they move it.
Right.
There's no.
Hey, YouTubers. Well, the meeting went like crap. Mayor didn't show up, didn't tell the appropriate people to show up. I got mad, spoke my mind. I'll just keep pushing. I'll come and speak there every meeting and bring up other things until they start caring about things that are going on in Wabash. Just because it ain't around them doesn't mean it shouldn't concern them. So enjoy the video, subscribe, like, leave a comment. Thank you. Love you. Bye.